Summer routines live or die by how easy they are. And honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Hi, everybody. I am Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. Today, we welcome in Gabby Billing from the Minnesota Wild. We're going to talk all things hockey, but on the business side. But she also played hockey. She's a local woman who not only played high school here, she went away to college and then came back for grad. So she kind of made that full circle like we all know Minnesotans do. We can never let them stay away too long. So we're going to talk with Gabby coming up.
Really looking forward to this conversation. This is Dawn of Sports. Dawn, of course, the anchor at Fox 9, a longtime sports anchor in town. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio. Best way to listen to TalkNorth.com for any of our great shows. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's also the easiest way to listen. Want to let you know that if you want to sponsor the show or be involved in any way, you can reach our great Vice President of Business Development, Tammy Henderson, at thenderson@talknorth.com. And let's get the show started, Dawn.
All right. Well, Gabby Billing, welcome to our podcast. I know we were just talking before we got on the show about how hot it is everywhere. So we're going to cool things down and talk a little bit of hockey. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, Dawn. I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
So I know when I started this podcast, and Jim liked this too, that we really wanted to feature, yes, of course, athletes, and maybe, they're still playing, I know professional, but also I wanted to do a focus on women who take that leadership and then they run with it in a professional life. And so for many people that may not know or have not met you yet, you are the manager of hockey partnerships for Minnesota Wild. And that sounds like such a big, huge deal to me. Whenever you think hockey partnerships, I always think like, oh my gosh, you're going to be like pounding the pavement. You've got to connect this, and this. And with every person that I have spoken to that knows you, you handle these partnerships with grace, with ease, and of course, because you're in the sport of hockey. So for anyone listening, what exactly does that mean when you're in charge of hockey partnerships?
Absolutely. As our hockey partnerships manager, I do everything that is community relations, community engagement, but specifically on the hockey side of things. So think grassroots hockey. I do a lot of growing the game initiatives, anything that gets more kids into hockey or fosters relationships of those that are already in the sport. I have a lot of learn to skate, learn to play programs specifically designed to get more kids of color into the game of hockey, things that continue to foster and grow the girls' game here in Minnesota and beyond, and all the way through the Minnesota State High School hockey tournaments, which are a renowned event that come through our building. I help plan the banquets for those, a long-standing tradition that we host before the tournament actually kicks off. So a lot of really cool things that I get to do here, and it's really special to me to continue giving back to the game that gave me so much throughout my life. So it holds a really close place in my heart, and I feel lucky to come to work every day and do the work I do.
Well, I joked around at the beginning of this podcast that, some will leave and they'll go to college somewhere else, but we always kind of scoop people back to Minnesota. So you went and you played your hockey days at Dartmouth College. So Ivy Leaguer to begin with. So it means that you're smart and you know hockey. How was that experience for you?
It was great. I always say that I was really ready to leave Minnesota after high school. I grew up here my whole life. I was ready to experience something new, and that took me to the East Coast. I had quite the recruiting journey for hockey, and that was a big part of it too, is I wanted to get away from Minnesota, and I also cared a lot about my academics. And so going to Dartmouth was incredibly difficult. We always say that freshman year especially is kind of like a boot camp. You're trying to figure out how to balance your academics, athletics, social life, the whole gamut. And it was an incredible opportunity and one that I'm really grateful for. Something that taught me a lot of lessons along the way, and not only through hockey, but through my psychology and brain sciences major. And I had a couple different coaches at Dartmouth, and we had a lot of dynamics on our team going on. And it was a really cool experience, a really fun one, and one that I was also challenged by, and one that I think helps me in my job today as well.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Some people say, I'm never leaving Minnesota, or I want to stay here. It's the state of hockey. Why would I go somewhere else? I think sometimes it takes a brave soul to even know, like you said, like you knew you wanted to go and get a different adventure. How hard was that to fight, like some of your friends, maybe even family, that were like, why do you have to go so far?
I was really lucky along that whole recruiting process, looking at colleges process, that a lot of people I went to high school with at Breck also ventured out of Minnesota. So that definitely was encouraging. And my family, along the same lines, they have always been my rock and my biggest support system. And they said, we'll come to you. Don't worry about it. We'll do what we can. We'll come to as many games as we can. It's not going to be every weekend. It's not maybe even going to be every month, but we'll make it work. So don't worry about that. If you feel like you need to go on another adventure and just try something new, we support that, and we think that's healthy for a growth opportunity. But they definitely were hoping that I was going to come back to Minnesota eventually, and it all worked out.
Was there still that pizza place on camp or right off campus called EBA's? Wasn't it like everything but anchovies? I don't know if that's still there, but I remember years ago I went there and I'm like, that is me to a T. Everything but anchovies. Give it all.
That sounds like a place I would have enjoyed. I would have found that if it was out there still.
I did not see it. You have to figure it out and find out when it left. It was so good. It was so good. Now, I joked around that then we scooped you up and brought you home, but you came back and played with the Tommies for a graduate year. And it is like coming back home in many respects, right? You came back home not only for your family, but back home to the ice, and also getting your graduate degree. What was that experience like? And I wrote down your degree because I was like, I wish that was a degree when I was in college, because I'm like, that sounds really cool. Transformational change and organizational development. And that is amazing. It sounds like a lot, but basically I'm saying that's exactly what you're doing for the Wild, right?
Yeah. I like I said, I was ready to leave Minnesota, but I was equally, if not more, ready to come back home.
Interesting.
And I think I got it out of my system. I went out east, I experienced it, and I loved it. And like I said, it taught me so many lessons along the way. But I was incredibly ready to come back home, to be close to my family. And I am so glad that the University of St. Thomas reached out when I was in the transfer portal. one of my high school coaches, Bethany Browson, was the one who reached out. I was maybe in the portal for 10 minutes, and she called me and she was super excited and got me out to campus for a visit. And living in Minnesota my whole life, I had never actually been to the St. Thomas campus, which, mind you, is beautiful.
Yes, it
and
is.
So it was really a full circle moment to be able to come home and play for her again, even though she was just an assistant while I was there. She's one of my biggest role models on and off the ice. And so that was a really special experience for me on the hockey side of things.
Right.
And then academically, transformational change and organizational development was a long way of saying that I took a lot of management courses, which was really... it was a really cool experience because at Dartmouth, I was psychology and brain sciences, and I loved that side of things, but I always wanted to tie it back into the business world somehow, because that's what I ultimately wanted to be in. I just didn't know exactly where my path was going to take me. And I took courses about business storytelling and leadership and things that all tied into that psychological aspect as well, which was, again, it felt like another full circle moment to kind of tie everything together. And that's when I ultimately realized that I wanted to pursue my passion of working in the sports world, and tying that into my academic and athletic career throughout my whole life.
And it's so hard, right? Because now you have all the schooling behind you. Now trying to break in to getting into any sports job. And I mean, we can talk ad nauseum about how hard it is just to get your foot in the door. Even when you are from the state of hockey, you've gone away, played at a prestigious university, and to come back, be at St. Thomas, it's still hard because you're like, okay, now I have all of this. I know what I want to do. I want to use my brain, the psychology of everything. I want to mix it into my management skills. And I would love to work for a team. How many doors did you have to knock on? And I'm assuming with the Wild, you had to start with an internship first. So it's like getting your foot in that door. But what I have learned from female athletes that have graduated and they get into business world is that when they get that foot in the door, no one's taking that foot out unless it's in a cast, unless they break it, right? What was your journey like?
I definitely kept hearing that over and over again. You got to get your foot in the door. You got to get your foot in the door. Use your connections. Use your networking. You hear that so much throughout college. Reach out to the people you know. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know, all of those things. And it really is so, so true. I have a lot of connections in the hockey world. The hockey world is a small one. And so I leaned on a lot of those people to introduce me, even if it was just via email or a quick phone call. I actually had an informational interview with Matt Maka, who is our CEO.
Amazing. Yes, he's awesome.
How incredible for him to sit down with someone looking to get into his field and take the time out of his busy schedule to share advice. And he told me to look at the poster that he had on his door, and it said, "Work hard and be kind." And simple advice, but something that has stuck with me. And so he kind of shared more information about the internship program that we have here at the Wild. And that's kind of the path that I thought and knew I had to go to get my foot in the door. And so I applied to our community relations and hockey partnerships internship. Our department is under one umbrella with that name, and then it's divided in two with the community relations and what I do at hockey partnerships. And so I started as an intern in September of 23, and I was working under Callie Funk.
Yeah.
She was an incredible boss. I learned so much from her in such a short amount of time. And just under 2 months into my internship, she bumped over to the Minnesota Frost. And so as bittersweet as it was great timing for me to be able to interview and ultimately be hired for her full-time role. And then it was kind of birth by fire.
Yeah.
I was learning everything right at once, taking over programs that she had run for 4 years and that had existed before that. And I honestly think it was the best way it could have gone for me, because I was forced to jump off the deep end and kind of apply a lot of those skills that I had learned throughout my hockey career from my whole life, and the skills I learned at Dartmouth about pressure and resilience. And it just could not have worked out better. And now I'm just finished my 3rd season here, and things keep growing, and I keep learning, and I keep growing. And so it's a really cool spot to be in.
Keep tuning into Dawn of Sports for her playbook, a Dawn of Sports leadership series highlighting Minnesota women's business leaders who are also usually have an interest in the sports world as well. Let's thank the sponsors who keep the show going. Let's start with Aquarius Home Services. Thanks also to Minnesota Masonic Charities.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
Welcome to one of our newer sponsors, Lucy Nicotine Pouches.
My friends have been all in on Lucy lately, and the good news is it's never been easier to try because Lucy is now available at Quick Trip. They've tried just about every pouch out there, and Lucy has become the one they keep coming back to. Great flavor, great strength options, and a pouch that actually holds up. You can get Lucy in mint, apple ice, mango, espresso, berry citrus, and apple cider. The flavor lasts, and you will want to test the lineup. Start with the 6-pack. The game changer is Lucy Breakers. Every pouch has a burstable flavor capsule. Bite into it for an extra hit of flavor and a smooth kick that just keeps going. My friends call Lucy top tier, and they recommend it to everyone. Give them a try. Get 20% off your first order when you buy online at lucy.co/Dawn with the promo code DAWN. That's lucy.co/Dawn with the promo code of Dawn. And if you don't want to wait, check out their store locator to find where you can pick up Lucy at your nearest Quick Trip today. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of a legal age, and every customer is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
And thanks to the Minnesota Twins, who are still in that wild card race.
Here is where it all starts. Here's where pages are turned and new legends are written. Here's where kids become lifelong fans and lifelong fans become kids. Here's where sunsets last longer, happy hour tastes better, and summer hits its stride. And when all of Twins territory stands together and believes hard enough, well, there's no place like here. Get your tickets at twins.com.
Women's sports don't grow because of one moment. They grow because people keep showing up. The fans, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the local businesses investing in their communities and believing in what's possible. At Citizens Independent Bank, they believe that same local connection is what helps people reach their goals. With financial solutions built around relationships, not transactions. Citizens Independent Bank, unlock the power. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. All right, back to Dawn.
All right, Jim. Thanks so much. I love, Gabby, how you said you wanted to kind of jump off the deep end, and you had to lean on your experiences for that. And that's why I say I think athletics and being on a team teaches you that, right? Because you have to show up as an individual on a team, but you also have to, work hard and be kind. You have to make sure that you're working within that framework. And so a lot of people would say, I have played at Dartmouth. I have a graduate degree. I played at St. Thomas. I got to get an internship now? Like, I got to do what now? But to have that humility, I think that's a whole nother key that I give you kudos for. To be like, yes, this is the area I want to get in. So you know what? I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to jump in. That must have been daunting though, right?
Definitely. I think it was that same kind of feeling I had when I was being recruited for hockey in college. I would sit down with a coach and I would say, I want to come to a program where I can make an impact right away. And I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll play on the fourth line. I'll play on the penalty kill, whatever you need me to do. I just want to make an impact. And I think I had that same feeling here when I started. And something that I think is an overall Minnesota Wild culture, especially in our department, is roll up your sleeves, boots on the ground. If you need to take out the trash or clean out the recycling because the janitor's too busy or you want to just make their load lighter, sure, I'll do it. That's nobody's too good for any job here, and I think that's something that I really admire. And something that I wanted to embrace right away as well. I wanted to be the first person in the office and the last one out when I started as an intern and make sure that I was proving that I deserve to be here. Once you get your foot in the door, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's it. I'm good. I've made it. You still need to prove yourself, especially as an intern, and make sure that you're worthy of being kept around. And I feel like I still need to do that every day. It's my uncle used to always tell me that there's no free lunch.
Right. Exactly.
You need to prove that you deserve to be in that room and in those meetings and whatever it may be. So I kind of keep that mindset with me, and it's not always easy. Sometimes we work late nights and long days and weekends and holidays. But there's also a lot of joy in that too, of seeing the impact that we can make with the platform that we have here.
Some of the initiatives that you guys do there, I just love. I think I've been part of, in years past, your annual leadership summit, which I just think is incredible. And it really opens the eyes and ears for some of the younger kids that are trying to find a career, like you were saying. When I did my internship, when I graduated, I didn't even know some of those jobs existed in television, so sometimes you don't even know what you don't know. But the girls hockey weekend, I love seeing that. Little Wild just steals my heart. And then Hockey Is For Me. And that I'm just scratching the surface on some of the things that you have your hands in on. And I'm sure each of them tugs at your heartstrings in one way, shape, or form. And so I'm not going to say which one is your favorite, but what are some of the experiences that you've drawn from any of those that you just love, that you said, yes, this is what all this hard work has been for?
Like you just mentioned, so many of these programs hold such a soft spot in my heart. I think one that always stands out is our Hockey Is For Me program. It's a program specifically designed to get more kids of color into the game of hockey. Around 5 to 8 years old is what we target. And it's a learn to skate, learn to play program for a lot of kids who have never seen the inside of a hockey rink before. And as most people know, hockey is primarily a white sport, and we're just trying to move the needle any way we can. And we hold 60 spots at TRIA every year for these kids to come out and for their parents to come out and learn about the sport and the equipment, and try and hold their hand through the beginning stages of the process to hopefully ultimately send them off into the community-based hockey model here in Minnesota. And it's really important to me to have that first experience, that first impression be really positive, because if you show up to a rink and it's scary and chaotic and you're falling on the ice and you're crying, you're probably not going to want to come back.
Right.
So I'm the coach on the ice, one of many coaches on the ice for Hockey Is For Me, and just being a smiling face, being a friend, being whatever I need to be to hopefully have that introduction to hockey be a positive one is something that I pride myself on. And I always tell this story, but I, a couple of years ago, had a Hockey Is For Me participant, and he came back to volunteer at our used equipment drive, which we host in October timing. And he said, well, I wasn't going to come today. And then my mom told me my best friend would be here. So I said, sure, I'll come. And I said, well, who's your best friend? And he looks at me kind of dumbfounded and goes, you, duh.
Oh.
You were my coach at Hockey Is For Me, and you're my best friend.
Oh my
I almost started crying.
God. I know. You, duh. I mean, come on. Oh my goodness.
And so just little experiences like that, little stories like that I can hold on to really proves the impact that we are making, even if it's one kid.
Yep.
I'm hopeful that it's more than one, but if you impact one kid positively like that, and he's still playing hockey today and loving it.
Nice.
And, so that's definitely one of my favorites is Hockey Is For Me. And then we just started a new program that I've kind of seen from the very beginning. It's one of the first programs that I've actually been able to implement here. It's called Big Wild. So as you mentioned, we have
Little Wild, right?
Our Little Wild program for 5 to 8 year olds. And then we realized that there was a gap of an older demographic that we've never worked with before, which is 9 to 13 years old. And we thought, well, it's never too late here in Minnesota. Everyone should be playing hockey. It doesn't matter how old you are. But a lot of times kids think if I didn't start at 3, 4, 5 years old in Minnesota specifically,
it's too late, they think, right?
It's too late. And so we actually have the program running right now. It's running June, July, and August, where it's a learn to skate, learn to play program for that older age group of 9 to 13 years old. And they get 4 learn to skate sessions, 4 learn to play sessions, and then they get to come to TRIA and play a couple of games in what we're calling the Minnesota Wild Big League. So each of the 4 locations that we have around the metro form a girls and a boys team, and then they'll get to come and play each other at TRIA in August.
You know what I really love? I love it when somebody finds just a gap of what's missing, and then you can fill it because especially that's such a tender age group in terms of peer pressure or not knowing something. So to get a bunch of people like, well, nobody here knows. So this is why we have this. Come on in, like check the ego at the door. Like let's go and have fun. That's such a great idea. And as a matter of fact, I know I can think of 3 adults that I'm thinking of right now, but one, this guy, Hobie Artigue, you guys might remember that name. He used to be in our sports department. He's now in Detroit. He first moved here. He's from Louisiana. He had never skated before. And he said, do you skate? And I said, we grew up with skates in our car, like shovel off the pond and skate.
Course, yeah.
But he said, well, I'm going to learn. He not only learned how to skate, he joined a men's league and started playing like in a beer hockey league and then was scoring goals. But you have to have that. I think as an adult, you're okay to be like, oh, if I'm terrible, I'm terrible. But when you're in that age group, would you say 9 to 13?
Yeah.
That's such a difficult age group to have that conviction yourself that you can just go do it. So that's brilliant. See, that's what I mean. I love programs like that. That must be fulfilling for you.
Yes. Yeah. That one, like I said, is close to my heart, especially being able to see it from the very beginning and having so many parents and even some of the athletes come up and say, I thought it was too late. There's no way that I could join association hockey at this point because I don't know anything. I don't know the rules. I don't know. I can barely skate, or I skated on the pond growing up, but I've never played organized hockey. And yeah, that 9 to 13 years old can be kind of a vulnerable age. I'm too cool for that. I'm too cool to fall down or to learn something new. And to create an environment where everybody's in the same boat and learning together. It's safe. It's fun. We have great coaches who are encouraging and helpful. And that one has been really sweet to see from the very beginning, and it's still running. And we've got about 135 kids in the program this year. So not knowing what to expect when we kind of kicked around this idea, and to see it being so successful is really great.
And this is something that you probably couldn't do as a job for the Wild, because it's kind of this pie in the sky idea, but I have so many friends, and they're not just women, but the majority of them are women, but there's also some guy friends that their spouse is into hockey and they don't get it. And they always ask the questions at the really inappropriate time, like game 7 of a playoff, right? And so I'm like, do not ask your husband that. Do not ask your wife, Be like, yes, they get mad at me. I'm like, well, yeah. So I say, listen, I do this all the time for a job. It's my career. I don't mind if there's one game that I'm not covering or working. I'll sit with you and you can ask me any question. It would be so fun. That's what I'm saying. It's not really feasible for a pro team, right? To get a group of people and try to explain to them as a go. It might just have to be like a side group that I do socially or something. Like, ask away, ask any questions. We've all been in that situation, right? Well, I had this one friend, they live in San Diego and they have the San Diego Gulls. And my friend would always ask her husband at the wrong time, and they'd be at the game and he's like shushing her, and she hated it. So I said, listen, I'll go to a game with you. So I went out to San Diego. I was at a game, and any question she had, I answered. Like, why is that a penalty? Why is that offsides? What is that guy doing? Da-da. She got so into it. Her husband now still calls me and thanks me because the two of them go to Gulls games. They watch the NHL games. He goes, she knows everything. Like, she'll know trades before I do. I said, it just takes that time sometimes to explain it to someone. But like I always see in some other sports, I'll have like women and wine night or something. But that's really, it gets to be a social hour. Like some people, and it's not only women, they need to learn so that they can enjoy it with their spouse or their brother and sister or their family. But like you said, there's a time where they think it's too late, right? It's either too late to play and learn, or it's too late to learn it so that you don't ask dumb questions when it's like, I said, it's the equivalent of being at a really good movie and asking questions like, hey, what's that actor? What's that? I go, you would never do that. Like, oh, I get that. I said, yeah. So, but I always think, okay, so that's not something that you would do in your job, but there's got to be a way, maybe like, I don't know, when I retire, I'll get like a group of people to be like, okay, kids, now we're going to a game and, you text me the question, or just like now with some World Cup, people are saying, now what is offsides?
Right.
Like what? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like hockey, but the line moves with the player and the last defender. And they're like, you lost me. So you kind of have to put them in those situations. But back to what we're saying with you, it's all of that just kind of bringing people into the world that you love. And having that, they don't have to love it the same way you do, but like even your new best friend, he loves hockey in a different way, and you're part of that. So it's pleasing your heart side of life too, and not just your work side, I bet.
Yes, absolutely. It's fulfilling in a lot of different ways, and I think sometimes it can be rare to show up and get that feeling from your job, from the work that you're doing. And I feel really lucky that I get to take those stories and those feelings home with me. Mm-hmm. It's really, really special for me to, like I said, have an impact on the sport that gave me so much throughout my life.
Well, Gabby, I'm so excited that you joined us today. I love the work that you're doing there. I love whenever I get those emails, and then I sometimes am there for practice, and then I'll go see something's on the ice beforehand. I always just love it because I think back to when I was a little kid and I loved, don't hate me, the Boston Bruins, because I grew up in Massachusetts. But, I would
let it slide.
Yeah, any of those things. We'll let it slide, Wild fans. But, that's when your love of the sport and the game starts. And it doesn't matter if you want to play it or if you just want to see it. And so everything that you do to bring these partnerships to life. And as a female, I just... congratulations to you, but also thank you, because you're really opening doors that were closed on many levels, and that's something to be celebrated.
Thanks, Dawn. I appreciate that. I'm, like I said, trying to do anything I can to move the needle a little bit in a lot of different ways, and to continue using our platform here at the Minnesota Wild to do so much good. And it's close to my heart, and I feel really lucky to be able to do that every day.
All right. Well, if there's anyone out there listening that needs a new best friend, or if your child does, if you want,
let me know.
Yeah. Just let Gabby Billing at Minnesota Wild, let her know, and she will be there to greet your child or you with a big smile, and just continue to grow hockey in the state of hockey. So, Gabby, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
Oh, awesome.